Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I am Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends, wives, and especially your boyfriends and your husbands. A very warm welcome to Movies TV Mad. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I am Mick Meanus, your host with the most, yeah? That's me. Come into my bedroom. You're very, very welcome. Would you like a coffee? You can follow me on X, Twitter, at Movies TV Mad, and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad, X, Snapchat, BMouth60, and TikTok, Mad Mickey's World. And a very warm welcome to Thursday's edition of the DCU Daily. One of the questions I'm asked by viewers of this channel, movie fans in general, and people from the industry, Mick, what's your favourite trilogy of all time? And that's a difficult question to answer. I don't think I have an outright favourite, because there's so many good ones. There's the Dark Knight trilogy from Christopher Nolan. There's the Lord of the Rings trilogy from Peter Jackson. There's a lot of great trilogies out there, isn't there? But one of my most favourite trilogies ever made is, of course, Zack Snyder's Snyderverse trilogy. I mean, come on. These movies are utterly special. I mean, come on. Special. This movie, utterly special. And this one is a work of art. Zack Snyder's Justice League, a beautiful movie we helped him fight for. They wanted to hide this movie, everyone. It sounds insane, doesn't it? That they wanted to hide Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. They wanted to keep on saying that Justice League was the only Justice League movie that existed. You have to wonder about the mentality, the mental stability of the people running a studio who wanted to hide Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. One of the finest movies ever made, one of the finest comic book movies ever made. But yeah, Zack Snyder's DCEU trilogy is absolutely wonderful for me. It's got so much meat in its sandwich, hasn't it? It's got so much story. Zack's strengths, one of them is his visual ability to tell a story without any dialogue. And he's so very good at doing that. And I'm a big appreciator of Zack Snyder. I think his films are wonderful. He's made great movies. I don't think he'll ever be able to top his DCEU trilogy, his Snyderverse DC trilogy. I mean, Rebel Moon was okay, the Army of the Dead thing was okay, but for me, he hasn't got anywhere near topping what he did. Not with this trilogy, especially Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. As I say, it's a well plotted out, paced movie. Everyone gets a chance to breathe, all these characters, but it's wonderful. It looks great, it feels great. No one's ever going to be able to make a Justice League movie on that level. Imagine if Gunn actually makes a movie called The Justice Gang. Maybe that's what he's playing at. He wants to keep away from calling it the Justice League because he knows he's got no chance of topping Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. It's a phenomenon of a movie. It is a pure work of art. But the other two movies are also pure works of art. We are never going to see those types of movies in comic book movie form ever done to that quality. And there's a lot of divided opinion about Snyder. I'm still miffed that some people believe he's a bad director who makes bad movies. I mean, look, if you want to feel that way about Rebel Moon, I kind of get it. I don't feel that way about Rebel Moon. I just don't think they're some of his best efforts. I think Rebel Moon could have been a lot better. And maybe if he wanted to do a Star Warsy thing, maybe he could have found something closer to a Star Warsy thing. I just feel he had production problems with Rebel Moon. I think Netflix were a big issue, especially the fact they wanted a 2-hour cut down as well as his extended cut. They were trying to play around with the fact that we all fought, we all fought with him for the Snyder cut. And I think that's what they were trying to do. Do a little miniature cut and then a proper cut. And for me, it didn't work. But these three movies are absolutely fantastic. They really, really are special. And the truth is that DC has been flat ever since. I mean, I enjoyed the Batman. I enjoyed Joker. I thought Aquaman and Wonder Woman were great movies. No question. I enjoyed those movies. And even with its flaws, I really enjoyed Black Adam as well. But the truth is, DC has struggled ever since Zack Snyder left DC. Now, no, I'm not a cultist. I don't think Zack Snyder's the only one who can make DC movies. That would be ridiculous. But how can you fire someone? How can you drive someone out of a studio who made Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? If you don't like BVS, again, I can get that. It's a very different, definitive kind of movie. Not for everyone. I get it. I absolutely get it, everyone. So you don't have to like it. You don't have to like any of his movies. You don't have to like what I like. But I think it's absolutely deranged and insane to drive someone out of a studio that made 300, that made Watchmen, that made these 3 DC movies. I think it's insane. It doesn't make sense to me. Where are we without Zack Snyder? Well, it's flat. It's like the person at a party who's the highlight of the night leaving. It's like deflating a balloon. It's all been moderate, mid, crap since Zack basically left. As I say, give or take Wonder Woman and Aquaman, which I believe are great movies in their own rights. Again, that's how I feel about that situation. But, you know, no one in their right mind gets rid of Zack Snyder. It's crazy that he's going to do some, I think. Is he going to do some cinematic movie for Paramount? Or yeah, I think he is. Don't know which one. I can't remember what it is or anything like that. That's going to be the first movie he's making for cinema since, I think, Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. That's insane. They put this guy on the naughty step and banished him to Netflix and streaming. Why? Because he wanted to make the movie he wanted to make. His last movie, Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, made just under $900 million. Now, that may not be what they wanted to make, but considering it's such a divisive movie, that's actually really, really good bank, isn't it, considering? But they didn't look at it that way. They wanted their $1 billion. They wanted their $2 billion Force Awakens, right? They wanted their big money. They weren't willing to listen to reason. Batman vs Superman scared them so much, they didn't like what David Ayer did with Suicide Squad. They got Johns to rewrite it and got David to reshoot it. And we got what we got. And I'm very confident that the Ayer cut is leaps and bounds better than what we got in theatres. But still, I don't mind that Suicide Squad movie. I think it's okay. It's not a terrible movie. Certainly not the movie critics said it was. But then I don't trust verified critics anyway. Or some fans. It's crazy. Some of the shit said about entertainment today. But what Snyder achieved with his DCEU trilogy was something magnificent. And I'm so happy that we all came together to fight to release the Snyder Cut. Because if we didn't, if they didn't know there was an audience, if AT&T and Stanky didn't know there was an audience for it, we would never have got it. You have to stand up. The power of the people is so utterly important. Make your voices heard constructively, always. Very, very important. Because if you don't, nothing ever gets done. Never have the attitude, oh, nothing's going to happen anyway. No. They listen. We're dealing with a consumer-based industry. Now more than ever, this industry is desperate to make money. And I believe there's money in making more Snyderverse. But even if we don't get that, what he achieved with his trilogy was something utterly remarkable. They're 3 remarkable films. And his distinctive storytelling is utterly beautiful. If you think about BVS and what he's trying to do. BVS, if you think about how Superman's treated in BVS, it echoes how his Batman vs Superman movie was treated in Man of Steel. Pa Kent says to Clark, people hate what they don't understand. they didn't understand BVS. They didn't really understand what it was trying to say because their brain cells have been rotted by the MCU and Michael Bay's Transformer movies, right? I quite like those movies, especially the first one. But you know what I'm saying. So if anyone tries to make a deep movie with a deep story, they reject it. And they rejected Snyder. Of course, they already hated Snyder. Even, before MOS, they hated him because of Watchmen. They loved him for 300, then hated him for Watchmen. All of a sudden, he wasn't the right man for the job because some people didn't like Watchmen. Don't ask me to explain the hatred for Zack Snyder because I don't understand it. The deep hate of his movies by some people. I can't explain it to you. It must be because he's different. Because when you see him talk, he's softly spoken, respectful, kind, lovely guy. So you think about the hate he gets and you don't get it. Even the way people talk about the way he does his movies as being a bad thing, I don't get that. The way he makes movies are Zack Snyder ways of making movies. But to call that bad is absolutely ridiculous. These 3 movies, I haven't enjoyed, these are 3 of the most enjoyable movies I've ever watched. There's very few comic book movies that I've ever enjoyed as much as Zack's 3 DC movies. They're wonderful movies, artistic movies, works of art, as far as I'm concerned. And when I hear the discourse, I just wonder, I just want to come off social media, watch a cartoon, watch Popeye Bugs Bunny or something, because there's too much hatred for the sake of hating. Yeah, I don't get it. I want to be able, as a content creator, to explain to you why they hate Zack Snyder, but I can't. I simply can't explain why you would hate the man who made 300, Watchmen, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, which may be one of the finest CBMs ever made. It got a lot of critical acclaim at the time. You must ignore the people who said it was better than Justice League because, me crapping out a piece of turd is better than fucking Justice League, right? That movie is one of the finest movies ever made, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Let's be clear about that. It is a hardcore 4-hour movie. But he did something people claimed he can't do, which is tell a story. A definitive, distinctive story. He does that without action at times. The way he tells the Flash's story. I absolutely love the way he shoots the Flash. Barry Allen in the pet store. The way he and Iris are looking at each other. The beautiful music as Barry is slowly attempting to save Iris. It's beautiful. And the moment with the hot dog. Sorry, I've got a big frog in my throat. I like to eat frogs for breakfast. What can I say? Not really. Don't get your panties in a bunch. It's a British saying. It means I've got a little bit of I've got a croaky throat. I smoke a lot. I drink a lot. I do apologise. But yeah, that bit with the Flash is amazing. The whole cyborg thing is outstanding. Freaking outstanding. No one is going to give you that level of storytelling ever again. Even though Superman's briefly in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, we get a better interpretation of Superman than we did from James Gunn's movie. It's emotional, it works, it's a great rebirth story. I'm still not sure if a Justice League movie was a place for a Superman rebirth story. I'd prefer that to be done in a solo Superman film, continuing from the death of Superman, then doing a rebirth of Superman. But anyway, the rebirth story, it's a miniature rebirth story, but it's a good one. I still believe the comic book Return of Superman, after the death of Superman, is much better. And you can't get anything better than telling those stories. And unfortunately, at this point, we haven't. Maybe one day someone will do both those stories, the death of Superman and the return of Superman, because they're epic. But Snyder did a good enough job in bringing him back. And it's an amazing film, look. It truly is. I always thought that Zack's Justice League movie, his version of it, was going to be a brilliant movie. But when I saw it, I've never, when you are anticipating a movie, I never think that a movie can be as good as my anticipation in my imagination. But Zack Snyder's Justice League was. And it's crazy to me that Zack is still on the subs bench when he should be continuing his Snyderverse story.